Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS. Finishing up NFL Week 14 here. We got Eagles, Chargers on Monday Night Football out in SoFi. As far as my Sunday, man, 2 games just ruined my entire day. I lost 4.5 units on just 2 games. The Saints-Bucks under. How does that get over the total? Still don't even know how that gets over the total in the pouring rain. I had under 43.5, under 43, and under 42.5. And then the under in the Jags-Colts. That was kind of a weird game. Still had an outside shot of hitting at the end, but yeah, that was also in the pouring rain. So 2 rainy unders ruined my day. I lost 4.5 units in just those 2 games. Outside of those 2 games, I went 4-1 in my other 5 picks. So yeah, wasn't a terrible day, but my streak of winning NFL weeks I guess it hasn't come to an end yet. I could bet a little bit more on Monday night to try to keep the streak going. I didn't even think about that. But yeah. Fun NFL Sunday. Saw some cool games. Eagles, Chargers, Monday night. Let's talk about it. I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. All right, let's do it. So Pinnacle actually reopened this one at 3.5 after last week's games ended, and it didn't last very long. Dropped down to 2.5 pretty quickly. Been there ever since. We're up to 50K limits now, still sitting at 2.5. Some of the other books have dropped it down to 1.5 too. Looks like it's at a juice 2.5 at Pinnacle at the time of recording. They just upped it to 50K limits about an hour ago. All right, Eagles are on the road out in SoFi to play the Chargers. Chargers sitting at 8-4, 2 games back, or actually technically 2.5 games back of Denver. Keep in mind, the Chargers play the Broncos in Week 18, and they've already beaten Denver. One of Denver's 2 losses is the Chargers, so Chargers are still very much alive in the AFC West. If they beat the Broncos in Week 18, technically they're only about a game back. They have to win this one against the Eagles. They'd be 1.5 games back with that win. But having that potential tiebreaker over Denver, that could be huge down the stretch here. Obviously, this graphic isn't updated. The Chiefs just lost, so they're now 6-7. They've been officially eliminated from AFC West comp. In fact, I believe, wasn't it 9 straight? I think the Chiefs won 9 straight divisions, and that obviously comes to an end because they're mathematically eliminated from the AFC West. Not the playoffs. They're mathematically eliminated from winning the division for the 10th straight time. Now, in the NFC East, the Lions just did the Eagles a service by beating Dallas on Thursday night. They're now 2 full games up in the division, so they're in pretty firm control here. Obviously, still ways to go, but they're still in pretty firm control. Eagles aren't playing too well recently, though, so they need to get it together, but they're in firm control in terms of the division. They can't let up, though, in any way, shape, or form, because the Packers, the Bears, the Lions, the Rams, the Seahawks, the 49ers, the NFC is it's a warpath in the NFC. So, yeah, Eagles in firm control of the division, still a ways to go in terms of the NFC playoff picture. So let's match these 2 teams up. On this side of the ball, we're talking about the Eagles offense against the Chargers defense. You'd have to say the edge goes to the Chargers defense here. On the season, the Chargers are 7th in success rate, 6th in EPA per play. And keep in mind, they played a few game chunk in there, missing some of their key players. We'll talk about it in a second. The Eagles having all kinds of problems on the offensive side of the ball. On the season, they're 23rd in success rate, 15th in EPA per play. You take a look at the Chargers defense. Agbania is still out, the defensive lineman. But they played a chunk of the season. Henley missed a game. Perryman missed a few games. Mack missed a few games. Deshaun Hand missed a few games. I think there was somebody in the secondary that missed a game or 2 as well. I'm actually not sure there. The point I'm making, though, is this Chargers defense looked really bad when they were missing Perriman and Mack. And since they've gotten fully healthy, I mean, in the last 5 games is where they really got everyone on the field. Deshaun Hand's only been back the last 3 games, but look at their last 5 games. They really shored things up against the run. Through the first 7 games, they were getting run on. They're allowing over 5.1 yards per carry, over 123 rushing yards per game. In their last 5, they're allowing less than 84 rushing yards per game, 3.81 yards per carry, 31% success rate per rush is excellent. Now, we do have to question the competition a little bit. Minnesota can actually run the ball. Tennessee can't. Pittsburgh can run the ball a little bit. Jacksonville can run the ball a little bit. The Raiders definitely cannot run the ball. So maybe you could say they've played some questionable competition here in terms of the offenses that they've seen. But what do we consider this Eagles rushing attack to be right now? Because there's no other way to there's no reason to sugarcoat it. There's no other way to phrase this. The Eagles just aren't running the ball. In their last 4 games, 32.8% success rate per rush is terrible. 3.8 yards per carry. The Eagles just can't seem to figure it out on the ground, and there's still no Lane Johnson, who's arguably one of the best players on the entire team. He's missed the last 2 or 3 games. I think he's supposed to be back next week, but he has been ruled out for this one. So the Eagles have been struggling to run the ball for most of this season. They're missing one of their best offensive linemen, one of their most important offensive players. He won't be back for this one. The Chargers have been rock solid against the run in their last 5 games. We actually saw Jacksonville running on them a little bit, but for the most part, the Chargers have been great against the run. I don't know how we can count on the Eagles' run game to show up here. I mean, maybe it shows up at some point, but we're in week 14 now. We're almost done with the regular season. The Eagles just can't run the ball much this year. So I doubt it just randomly shows up against a Chargers defense that's been pretty good since they've gotten healthy. In terms of the pass rush, that should also be a problem for Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts has done a solid job handling pressure so far this year. It's not like he's incapable of handling a pass rush. He does have a tendency to hold on to the football, though. He does have a tendency to take some sacks at times. This is a Chargers pass rush that's able to generate pressure without sending extra rushers with those 2 edge rushers there. So I'm sure the Chargers pass rush is also going to pose some problems for this Eagles offense. And in terms of Jalen Hurts making throws on this Chargers secondary, how much do we really trust the Eagles passing attack right now? I mean, he really hasn't been that great either. You rewind back about a month and a half ago, Jalen Hurts was kind of on a heater. He had like a 120 passer rating through a 4 or 5 game stretch. He was throwing the ball really well. Last 4 games, okay, maybe you could bring into conversation the competition a little bit. The Packers, tough defense. The Lions, tough defense. Cowboys, an improved defense, I guess. The Bears, not really a great defense. So maybe they've seen some tough competition. Those are all solid NFC opponents there. So they've played some good teams recently, but 84-9 passer rating in their last 4 games. And it's not like the Chargers are scrubs, by the way. They're in the AFC playoff picture themselves. So it's not like things get easier here for Hurts. And in terms of the matchup, I don't really like it for Jalen Hurts. The Chargers basically live in zone coverage. Over 78% of their defensive snaps are in zone coverage. They run a ton of cover 3, ton of cover 4. Jalen Hurts has actually done a lot of his damage this year against man coverage. 119.9 pass rating against man coverage this year. That's one of the best in the NFL. Check this out. Against zone coverage. So first of all, against man coverage, he has dropped back to pass 110 times this year. So 110 dropbacks against man coverage this season. He has 14 touchdowns and 1 interception in those 110 dropbacks. Against zone coverage, he's dropped back significantly more, as all quarterbacks have. 281. That's how many times Jalen Hurts has dropped back to pass against zone coverage this year. Just 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, with almost 3 times as many dropbacks. It seems like most of Jalen Hurts' explosive downfield throws this year have come against man coverage. We just got done looking at it. The Chargers basically live in zone coverage, and this is a Chargers defense that does a great job against downfield passes. In terms of passer rating allowed against the downfield throw, they're 3rd in the NFL. You take into consideration that the Chargers are going to be sitting in cover 3, sitting in cover 4. You take into consideration that the Chargers have a great pass rush, and they do it with just their front 4. The Eagles are missing Lane Johnson. Most of Jalen Hurts' explosive throws have come against man this year. I don't know how many downfield throws we're going to see in this game from Jalen Hurts. If the Eagles want to move the ball in this game, they're probably going to have to dink it and dunk it, which, by the way, the Eagles are more than willing to do. In fact, that's what we saw them win a Super Bowl doing last year, running the ball, super slow pace, milking the clock, holding onto the football for hours on end. That's what we saw Sirianni do all last year. That's how the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But in terms of this year's Eagles offense, we're just not seeing it. The rushing efficiency isn't there. So we've actually seen the Eagles connect on some big throws downfield, but like we just looked at, most of those have come against man coverage. So in a game where I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball, I think the Chargers are able to generate pressure, missing Lane Johnson. This Eagles offense has flat out struggled. They're averaging 15.5 points per game in their last 4 games, 5.4 yards per play, 41% success rate. So until the Eagles offense shows me something, I'm going to continue to price them out as a bad offense because that's what they've been. 15.5 points per game in their last 4 games. I like this Chargers defense. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball. Now, on the other side, this is where I'm not sure how confident I am in the Chargers. On the season, they're 13th in success rate, 16th in EPA per play. Eagles defense, 15th and 9th. So on paper, these two units are pretty even in terms of the full season numbers. The lead story with this Chargers offense all season has been the offensive line. In fact, last week, we saw, was it the 8th? I wrote it down. Yeah, the 8th combination, the 8th offensive line combination last week for the Chargers. But apparently they played really well. I'm basing this off of an article I read. So apparently Harbaugh gave the game ball to the offensive line, and they feel really confident that they found their combination here. Apparently Sawyer played really well at left tackle. He was playing some guard, and they switched him out to left tackle. They also put Mekhi Becton, who was playing right guard. They moved him out to tackle. So apparently they like this combination a lot. Regardless, we know the offensive line has kind of been the Achilles heel of this Chargers offense this entire year. We should probably talk about Justin Herbert. So what I read about him, it looks like he's going to play. What I read about him, here are the exact words. He underwent successful surgery on Monday and has been listed as questionable for the upcoming game, but all indications are optimistic. So I don't know what that means either. I guess he's going to play. Based on everything I'm reading, it seems like he's going to play. He's had a cast on his hand throughout the week. It's his non-throwing hand. I read we could see some packages that involve Trey Lance. Short yardage situations, we'll see. But Omarion Hampton is also back, by the way, at running back. So just when Vidal started to get it going on the ground, they also get Hampton back. So the Chargers also have a 1-2 RB punch there brewing, because the Chargers, the run game's actually coming around for the Chargers. But anyway, the main story with the Chargers offense is the offensive line, right? So the first question we need to ask when we're looking at the Eagles defense is, do we think the Eagles defensive front seven can exploit what we perceive to be a weak Chargers offensive line? At least it has been a weak offensive line for most of the season. I know they played well last week, but for the most part, they've been a vulnerable offensive line, we'll put it. So do we think the Eagles defensive front seven can exploit what is probably a weak Chargers offensive line without Jalen Carter? Jalen Carter's been ruled out for this game, and that's definitely a concern. As I'm sure you probably know, he's one of the best players on the team. We've seen the Eagles play 2 games this year without Jalen Carter. It was the opener against Dallas because he spit on Dak Prescott in the pregame warmups or whatever. Was that before the first play or whenever it was? He spit on Dak Prescott before the game even started and missed that one. The other game he missed was the Thursday night game against the Giants, and that was the game where Scatterboo and Dart, and they crushed the Eagles. They beat the Eagles comfortably in that one. So we've seen the Eagles play 2 games this year without Jalen Carter. They were unable to generate stops in either of those games. They allowed 27 points per game, over 52% success rate in those 2 games, and look specifically at their numbers against the run. In those 2 games, against the Giants and Cowboys, by the way, they allowed over 146 rushing yards per game, 5.1 yards per carry, 49% success rate per rush. So both times we've seen the Eagles play without Jalen Carter on the field, the defense didn't look good at all. And look, this is a run defense that I have my concerns about. That's a question I have about this Eagles defense. How strong do we think they are against the run? Last week, we saw the Chicago Bears go into Philadelphia and rush for 282 yards. 282 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, over 47% success rate per rush. We just saw this Eagles defensive front seven get bullied by the Bears, and Jalen Carter even started that game. So I have my concerns with this Eagles run defense, and if you really look at their full body of work, they had that 1 3-game stretch where the defense looked elite. It was the second game against the Giants, then it was the Packers game and the Lions game. In those 3 games, they allowed 3.7 yards per carry, under 83 rushing yards per game, 34.9% success rate per rush. We were all like, the Eagles Super Bowl defense is back, myself included. We all thought the Eagles defense was back. Up until that point, they were struggling against the run. Through the first 7 games, they were allowing 4.6 yards per carry, 42.7% success rate per rush, over 128 rush yards allowed per game. So up until that point, they were struggling against the run. Then they had that 3-game stretch. Since then, they had the Dallas game where they lost, and the Cowboys had like 480 yards of offense or something in the game. And then we just saw the Bears game where they got bulldozed. So for most of this season, the Eagles defense has been struggling against the run. Now, without Jalen Carter, and the 2 games we saw them without Jalen Carter, they got ran on pretty easily in both those games. Look, I know the Chargers don't have a rushing attack that necessarily scares you. It certainly didn't look great in their last 2 games against the Jags and Raiders. 4.1 yards per carry is all right, but 28.4% success rate per rush is terrible. But in the 3 games before that, over 151 rushing yards per game, 4.5 yards per carry, 41.8% success rate per rush. The Chargers were running the ball. That was against the Vikings, the Titans, okay, but Vikings and Steelers are in there. So this Chargers team is capable of running the football. We know historically that's what Harbaugh wants to do. The Chargers offensive line is healthy in terms of the players they have left. Obviously, there's no Joe Alt or Rashawn Slater. They're out for the year. Without Jalen Carter, the weakness of this Eagles defense seems to be the run defense. I think the Chargers might be able to run the ball a bit in this game. With Hampton coming back, I think the Chargers can run the ball a bit in this game. Now, in terms of Justin Herbert trying to throw the ball in this Eagles defense, I'm really not sure. It seems like they really don't trust the pass protection right now. You look at the last 3 games for Justin Herbert, 2.31 seconds. That's his average time to throw. Usually he's a guy that likes to hold on to the football, try to extend the plays, try to let a route develop. We haven't really seen that. He's got an 81 passer rating, just 150.7 passing yards per game in his last 3. Now they went 2-1 in these games, but the defense is the reason they won 2 of those games, not Justin Herbert throwing the ball, I should say. So Justin Herbert doesn't look great. Offense doesn't seem to have a ton of confidence in the pass protection right now. So I don't have a ton of faith in Justin Herbert throwing the ball much on the Eagles defense. Now, I will say, if you're trying to back Justin Herbert in any way, or you're trying to take a Chargers receiver touchdown scorer or some shit, I will say the Eagles have played the majority of their games outdoors this year. We've only seen them play 2 games in this type of environment. One was indoors at Minnesota, in that dome up there in Minnesota. The other one was in Dallas, which isn't technically an indoor game, but Jerry World's pretty much indoors. They actually got thrown on in both those games. They allowed over 333 passing yards per game, 8.7 yards per pass attempt, over 60% success rate per dropback. So both times we saw this Eagles defense play a game indoors, or kind of indoors, they got thrown on. So maybe this is an Eagles defense that likes the outdoor environment, the wind, the cold, or I don't know, that's razor thin. I probably shouldn't have included that in the video. That's kind of thin. But this is SoFi. They are indoors. It is Justin Herbert. As a whole, I don't have a ton of faith in the Chargers consistently moving the ball in Philly, but I truly do think they're able to run the ball a little bit. And Justin Herbert with run support, maybe if they use him for some quick hits, out of play action. Yeah, I don't have a ton of faith in the Chargers moving the ball, but I do think they can run the ball, and I do think they can play some defense in this one. So when it comes to betting this game, I did place a bet early on. I took the Chargers plus 2.5. I actually took the look ahead before last week. I was surprised. So I took the plus 2.5. Then it reopened after the games at plus 3. I even saw a plus 3.5. So I felt like an idiot because I took a plus 2.5, and then you could have gotten a plus 3, plus 3.5 after that. It has since come down, probably due to the Jalen Carter injury news, but it's now at 2, 1.5. You can actually still get a 2.5. I'm on the Chargers plus 2.5. I'm going to copy and paste what I've been saying the last 2 weeks. I've bet against the Eagles 2 weeks in a row. This will be 3 weeks in a row. When I took Dallas plus 4.5, when I took Chicago plus 7, they continue to price the Philadelphia Eagles like the Super Bowl champions, and they're just not playing at that level right now. I don't think they're a bad football team, but they're getting priced like the Super Bowl champions, like they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're just not right now. They might be later in the season, but right now they're just not. And just because I said that, watch them show up and look like the Super Bowl champions again. But yeah, laying 2.5, 3 points on the road against a playoff team, that's getting priced like the Super Bowl champions, and they're just not playing at that level right now. Without Lane Johnson and without Jalen Carter, 2 of their best players, in my opinion, this should be Chargers minus 1.5, minus 2. I would have these 2 teams about even on a neutral. Now, the Chargers do have the Chiefs on deck, so those of you who like to play the look-ahead game, it is a quote-unquote look-ahead for the Chargers in this one, with a huge game against the Chiefs on deck. Chiefs just got knocked out of the division running. But it's still a huge game. Regardless, plus 2.5 is too much. So, yeah, I'm on Chargers plus 2.5 here. Let's do it. I would lean under. I think both teams are going to run the ball, so I would lean under, but 41.5 is a low number for an indoor game. So Chargers plus 2.5 and under. Thanks for watching. Live shows at midnight Eastern time. As always, we'll be talking some college basketball and hopefully some NBA this week. That took a little bit longer than I expected to get going. As far as Juice Reel, so I am up and running on Juice Reel. Couple notes here. So it comes with everything. So if you subscribe on Juice Reel, it still gets you into the Discord, and you still have the spreadsheets and everything. It's the same thing as the website. I'm eventually moving everything over to Juice Reel. The reason for that is the push notifications are so convenient. on my end. It's hooked up to all my sports books. So when I place a bet, it automatically sends you a notification from my sports book to your phone, which is wildly convenient on my part. Because right now, when I place a bet, I have to take a screenshot, send it to the Discord, then go upload it on the website to put it up there. So this eliminates a bunch of steps for me. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to include, if you're already signed up to the website or you're already in the Discord and you would like to switch over to Juice Reel, it would be the same thing. You'd still be in the Discord. You'd still get the spreadsheets, everything the same. You would just get the notifications, and how it works is you get a notification and you can immediately tail it. Like, it tells you where you can get that same thing, best available for sports books that you have. It's wildly convenient. So if you're already signed up and you would like to switch over to Juice Reel, just reach out to me, like send me a DM or an email or something, hit me up in the Discord, and I'll refund whatever's left, basically, so you won't get double charged. I'll handle it. We'll figure out the best way so that doesn't happen. So just let me know. If you do subscribe on Juice Reel, just know it tracks everything, literally everything. It's mirroring my sports book, which is awesome. It's 100% transparent. That's why it's the best platform in my opinion. But it also tracks, like, when I do those bullshit same game parlays or like those terrible bets that we do in the Discord for fun. It tracks that as well. So if you subscribe on Juice Reel to Kyle Kirms on Juice Reel, just the straight bets, sides and totals pregame. That's when I'm placing that I believe to have an edge. If you see me placing something like a same game parlay or a touchdown score, just know I'm on some bullshit, and I don't think that has an edge. That's just me having fun. You're welcome to tail them. Just know that I don't believe that has an edge. This is me doing some gambling. So yeah, you'll get a notification when I send anything out. That includes bad bets as well. But yeah, if you're going to subscribe to the Juice Reel and you want to only tail things that I believe to have an edge, sides and totals pregame, that's it. My skill set is I can pick off soft openers. That's pretty much my skill set as a gambler. So yeah, that's over on Juice Reel. Just search for Kyle Kirms on there.